and welcome to episode 3 of the CyHawk Sports Podcast. I'm Dawson Livingston, joined by Braden Bankin and special guest today, Brian Hart. How are you guys doing?
Doing good as always.
Just dandy, in fact.
Oh, that's great. All right, should we just get right rolling into the first topic then? Enough said?
Let's shall.
All right. So obviously we start off every podcast talking about Iowa and Iowa State. And football mainly, but soon enough, if we continue to do this, we'll talk about basketball because basketball season is right around the corner. So let's start off with Iowa State. Iowa State has a pretty tough game at home against Texas. Bank, I know you're going to this game. What are your thoughts on Iowa State playing Texas this week?
I'm really excited to go to this game. I know, especially with everything that's been unfolding with Texas and their special teams coordinator. I'm sure that student section is going to be alive and well, as always. I don't know how the game's actually going to go, because like I said last week, we win against the teams we have no business winning against and lose against the teams we have no business losing to, i.e. West Virginia. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't know who's going to win, but I think at the end of the day, the real winners is going to be the student section because of how much crap we're going to be able to talk to Texas, win or lose.
Right. Brian, do you have any thoughts on the Iowa State versus Texas game?
I have a thought of how it should go, but like Braden said, it hasn't necessarily gone that way all season. So I think it'll be a toss-up. I think Texas should win. However, like Braden was saying, the season's kind of been up in the air, so I don't know.
Yeah, and it should be a very interesting game. It's 5-3 Iowa State hosting 4-4 Texas. This isn't the Texas team we usually see. We see Texas being a little bit better, but they have lost a lot of players since their last team. So it should be a very interesting game in Ames, Iowa. All right, next game is the Iowa Hawkeyes on the road against the Northwestern Wildcats. Do you guys have any thoughts on Iowa at Northwestern?
No.
Yeah, I have some thoughts. Iowa needs to get their offense in order. Holy cow. They have scored 7 points. 14 points over the last 2 games. Like, what is going on with Iowa's offense right now? I can't understand it.
Well, I think their offense has always been like this. I just think their defense has just kind of carried them this season. As an Iowa fan, I believe I could say that after watching them all these games. Our punter and our defense won us the Iowa State game and the Penn State game, and there's no doubt about it in my eyes. And they've won us every other game this year. So the offense, it's a serious problem, but I don't know. We'll see if the defense can step up and not allow 27 points like they did last week. You guys have any other thoughts on Iowa or Iowa State before we move on to the next topic?
No, I think I've said what I wanted to say.
All right, Brian, were you going to say something right there?
I was just saying that, like you said, Iowa's defense has definitely carried them, even though they allowed 20 points to a Penn State on there. Was it their second string or third string quarterback?
It was their first string for the first quarter and then half of the second quarter, and then it was their second stringer the rest of the game.
Yeah. I mean, Iowa's defense is solid. We know that. I think their ranking was a little bit misleading for the first part of the season, but I think they should have a pretty good shot against Northwestern.
Yeah, and I did see a stat that Northwestern is like bottom 10 in college football in rush defense. So if Iowa can't run the ball on this team, then I'd be really upset if we can't run the ball on this team. All right.
Yeah.
Moving into the next segment, the college football playoff rankings dropped on Tuesday. There's some controversy with how some teams were ranked and how Cincinnati wasn't ranked high enough or how Alabama was ranked too high. Do you guys have any thoughts on the college football playoff rankings? If you agree with them or disagree with them?
I don't really know because, Alabama's still really good, but it kind of feels like this year they're not really treating losses how they have in the past. Because, you have, like you said, that Cincinnati team that's, 8-0, 9-0 at this point?
8-0.
And they're number 6. And then you have the teams like Oregon that lost to an unranked Stanford, who is still unranked, and they're number 4. So I just don't really know. It kind of feels like they're just justifying one bad ranking with another bad ranking. I mean, obviously, I have nothing to do with the rankings. Nobody really does, other
Yeah.
than the BCS. They probably know what they're doing more than I do, but it's always fun to sit back and judge people's work that are way more qualified to do it than you are. So,
Yeah. And Brian, do you have any thoughts on the college football playoff rankings that came out on Tuesday?
All I gotta say is that Oregon ranking is BS. Like, where did they get that number from? Come on.
Well, Oregon has an insane win on their resume. They did go to Columbus and knock off the Buckeyes, but I agree with you both. They should not be the fourth team in the nation, and I don't think Bama should be second. I think a team like Cincinnati, they've earned it so far. They should be second right now. And Oklahoma, I know their wins haven't been that impressive. Like, they haven't been blowing out teams. Oklahoma should be higher than 8, in my opinion. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Especially since there are teams that are higher that have lost to, like Braden said, to unranked opponents. Like, I think Oklahoma should definitely be, like, I would say 6 or 5, and maybe not 5. 6 is probably a fair ranking for Oklahoma in my eyes.
Yeah. And I just feel like Oklahoma's being a little bit underranked, and they've just looked like a completely different team since Caleb Williams has really stepped in there and taken over that team. All right. Moving into some of the big news that happened last night and earlier today, and that also happened on Tuesday. Odell Beckham Jr. not getting traded on the trade deadline, and now is supposedly getting released by the Cleveland Browns, and he'll be subject to waivers. So meaning a team can claim him off waivers, and he will have he has an obligation to show up to that team. What a turn of events! We thought Odell Beckham. It wasn't that long ago where he was arguably a top 3 wide receiver. And now he's gone from that to getting cut from the Browns. Where do you guys think Odell goes from here?
I don't know. At this point, I mean, yeah, I don't know. If I had to give my landing spots that I think are the most likely, I think the Raiders have a good shot at getting him, and I think the Falcons do, especially since the Falcons are without Calvin Ridley until further notice. I think they're high enough on the waiver wire that the teams above them, I don't think they're going to really A, have a shot at him, or B, will want to take a shot at him. I think the Falcons are probably number 1, and the Raiders are probably my second favorite to see. Well, not see, because I don't really personally like the Raiders that much, with all due respect to Raiders fans, but I mean, I think most likely it's going to be one of those two. That's my guess.
All right, Brian, where do you think Odell goes from here?
I think the Falcons is a safe bet. I mean, like you said, they do need receivers badly. And the record displays that. And I think Odell, if he behaves himself in Atlanta, he will be able to help them get that record a little bit more respectable for sure.
So you think Atlanta's probably the place that he's going to go?
I think it would be the best for Atlanta. As far as for him goes, I'm not really sure. He kind of likes to be the guy, and I think he would be the wide receiver 1 at Atlanta for sure. But like there are other teams that fill that as well. He could be the number 1 receiver at a few other teams as well.
Yeah, and keep in mind that he's not going to be a free agent. If he gets claimed, he's not a free agent, so he will not get to choose where he goes. So if a team wants a receiver bad enough, they can claim Odell Beckham Jr. and he has to be on the team for the rest of the season. So if he goes through waivers unclaimed, then he'll have an option to go wherever he wants. But it's going to be interesting to see if some team claims him. But I think Monday is when he can be claimed. So it's going to be interesting to see. All right. Trade deadline passed in the NFL on Tuesday, and it was probably one of the most boring trade deadlines I think I've seen in a while. I mean, there was a couple trades before the trade deadline that happened, like the Von Miller trade, Stephon Gilmore, some other guys, but trades that happened on Tuesday, it was Melvin Ingram to KC. Braden, who did the Niners get from the Texans? I can't remember his name.
It was Charles. I not even going to try to pronounce his last name.
And then
the defensive end out of Houston.
Yeah, and then the Jets got LDT from the Chiefs, and the Chiefs just got a fourth string tight end that'll play some special teams. So honestly, with all the expectations coming into to the trade deadline, I was kind of disappointed to see that there were no big trades that happened on Tuesday, especially with the Deshaun Watson news that there might have been a trade happening. What are you guys' thoughts on there being minimal trades on the trade deadline?
I was bored to death. That was just
well put.
I normally like don't follow the trade deadline super closely, but I see like the big trades that are on social media and stuff. And when I saw absolutely nothing, I was just like, did any trades happen? Like you said, it was
Right.
super disappointing.
Braden, you got any thoughts?
I mean, yeah, I think we've pretty much wrapped up everything I was going to say about that. I mean, I can't really think of too many less eventful trade deadlines than this one, especially with how hyped up this trade deadline was going to be.
Right.
I mean, it just feels like we kind of just got nothing.
Yeah, and we really did get nothing if we're being 100% honest. All right. Next segment that I just thought about right now that I forgot to include in our list was Aaron Rodgers getting COVID and not being able to play on Sunday against the Chiefs. Do you think that hurts the Packers' chances on winning this Sunday? Or do you think the Packers are going to be normal? And does this impact them in the future? Let's say if they like Jordan Love a lot, they'll be more eager to move on from Aaron Rodgers. Or you guys got any thoughts on Rodgers getting COVID and he's out for Sunday?
Well, I've been seeing rumors that Rodgers might get like suspended for a while for violating COVID rules for not being vaccinated and not wearing a mask.
Right.
So it's possible that he might have a chance to be done for a good couple weeks. So I could definitely see this hurting them in the future. But as far as the KC game, I mean, preseason, I would have said absolutely. But after the kind of nothing burger we've gotten out of them so far this season, I mean, it's obviously going to be a lot harder for the Packers to win this. But I don't know. It depends on what the Chiefs do, really. I think this is Kansas City's game to lose at this point. And so far, Kansas City has not had a ton of promise in their game to lose games. So it's going to be definitely a lot more interesting than it would have been before. But I don't know if the result's going to change too much.
All right. I agree with that. Brian, you have any thoughts? I believe you are a Packers fan, so what do you feel about this?
Was a Packers fan. Past
Past.
Aaron Rodgers, I am not a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers' antics this season and preseason in particular. He kind of is becoming a mirror image of Brett Favre in my eyes. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, obviously he's immensely talented. I think he's still one of the top quarterbacks in the league. A lot of people disagree with me on that one. But I think if he manages to get his behavior under control and comes back from this without any like repercussions, I think they'll be fine. Like you said, I think Jordan Love will get his opportunity, and I think he's capable of capitalizing on a weak Chiefs defense, especially with Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard back. However, we saw how Aaron Rodgers reacted last time they tried to give another quarterback a chance. I'm kind of worried he's going to react the same this time. I guess we'll just have to find out. But like Braden said, it's the Chiefs' game to lose. That being said, Patrick Mahomes has been throwing some eggs this season, so I'm not super sure how it's going to pan out.
Right, and it's going to be interesting to see if the league takes a stand and suspends him for not being vaccinated and also not like following the protocols of wearing a mask during your press conferences or doing your press conference on Zoom. So it's going to be interesting to see. And I saw a quote from Rodgers, and he said he's not anti-vax, or he just did a lot of research into the vaccines and found out he has an allergy to an ingredient in all the vaccines. So I don't know if that's just him BSing right there. I don't know if that's a legitimate argument, but it's you would think a quarterback of the team would almost want the other players to get vaccinated because you don't want this instance happening like that's unfolding right now for Green Bay.
I feel like Aaron Rodgers is more a quarterback for himself than a quarterback for Green Bay at this point.
Right. More of a me guy than a we guy.
Yeah, for sure. And in the past, that hasn't always been the case with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not sure. I think the preseason affected his mindset on the team notion and the whole COVID thing. I'm not well versed enough to know if he's BSing or not, but like it seems like he's not super concerned with the impact this will have on his team. He's more looking at what it will have on him in his career.
Right. Braden, you got any final thoughts on the Aaron Rodgers news?
No, I think I've spoken my piece.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll get moving on into the next segment. So we're going to go over last week's locks. So Trey's not on he's not on obviously today. So we weren't able to get his locks, but we can go over Braden and my locks from last week and see where we were right and where we were wrong. Braden, you want to start with yours, where you were right and where you were wrong on your Week 8 locks?
Sure. So starting with the Thursday game, I didn't exactly anticipate on AJ Green's controller disconnecting in the end zone. So I held the L on that one. Buffalo I had over Miami, which I think that one was closer than it probably should have been, but still a lock nevertheless.
Right.
Cincinnati over the New York Jets. Mike freaking White out of left field put up 400 yards on a pretty alright defense. Like, it's not like he did that against, like, say, the Chiefs. Like, he did that against the...
Low blow.
I mean,
low blow.
Okay, I'm not wrong.
He's not
wrong.
You're not, but...
He did that. He put up 400 yards and 3 touchdowns on the Bengals defense.
Right.
And pretty much single-handedly carried them to a team that was looking good. So, props to Mike White. It's tough to see that he got hurt last night. But, yeah, definitely was not expecting that to happen. What I did expect was the Rams beating the Texans. I think everybody kind of saw that one coming. But then, Tampa Bay versus New Orleans. Tom Brady and his game-winning drives. Just this time, it went to the other team.
You're not wrong. So, what was your record this week then?
I think it was 2 and 3. Yeah, not great for locks.
You know, but... I would be making fun of you, but I was only one game better, and this is the last and final time I will ever listen to you about the Bengals. The one time I picked the Bengals is the one time they lose. I had Cincinnati over the Jets. That obviously didn't happen. Like Bank, I also had Buffalo over Miami. So Buffalo should have won that game by a little bit more, but nevertheless, they still won the game. And then I had Kansas City over the Giants. Kansas City should have won the game by more than what they did. But, again, it was still a win, so I'm still happy about that. Rams over the Houston. I feel like that was like the lock of the week in my eyes. Although Houston did score 22 garbage time points in a row. Because I think the Rams were up 31-0 or 38-0. And they scored 22 in a row to make it 38-22. So while the Rams were just destroying them, Houston just scored a couple garbage time points. And then this one I got wrong, but I don't know why I picked this one. I had the Chargers over the Patriots. I just felt like Herbert would have a bounce-back game. But then I forgot that he was going against New England's defense, and that New England's defense is really, really good. And that the Patriots are somewhat turning it around this season. Like, they're pretty competitive in all the games they played. So I ended the week with a 3-2 record. My losses were Cincinnati over New York and the Chargers over the Patriots. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Trey had the same for locks.
I think he had the exact same as me, I believe.
He had Kansas City.
Yeah, I think he had Kansas City instead of the Tampa Bay one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right. So he would have then finished, 3-2 as well?
3-2 as well, yeah.
All right. So I mean, not perfect, but we didn't go over. But we'll
didn't
see.
go over in this week. So
yeah,
this was a crazy week for the NFL. So.
It was. So it was kind of hard to predict. All right, now let's go over our Week 9 locks. Brian, let's start out with you. What are your 5 games that are locks this week in Week 9 of the NFL?
First I got Bills at Jags. I think that one's kind of obvious. I have Bengals at Browns. The Bengals kind of made me waver a little bit on this one last week, but that wasn't necessarily them. I think that was more Mike White last week. I have Ravens at Vikings. I think that'll be close, but the Ravens have kind of been on fire this season. I have Rams at Titans because no Derrick Henry. And then I have Saints at Falcons, and I'm taking the Saints over the Falcons any day of the week.
All right, those are good picks. Braden, you want to say your picks real quick?
All right, sure. So I thought about picking the Bengals, but after they absolutely broke my heart last week, I don't know if I can ever trust them ever again. I think once you lose to the Jets, you automatically lose any right to be considered a lock.
Titans.
yeah, Titans.
Okay.
But then again, the Titans did just lose Derrick Henry.
They do not have Mr. Wrecking Ball, so...
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, AD is pretty good, but let's see if he's good at 36.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to my locks. So I did not pick the Bengals. Instead, I chose Dallas over Denver. I mean, that offense is looking pretty dang good. The defense is looking definitely better than it has been in the past, and the Broncos are just looking bad. Honestly, they're not great. They're definitely not great. So I got Dallas over Denver. This one's kind of a shock even for me, but I got Houston over Miami. Miami is looking awful.
Really?
Tyrod Taylor's back. They don't have to deal with Davis Mills anymore. Miami's looking so... unless they pick up Odell, there's not a chance that they're going to be able to... they're just so bad, dude. As bad as Houston is, Miami is worse.
And Miami doesn't have their first-round pick this year, so they're in some trouble. They're like Houston last year.
Yeah, no. They really pulled the switcheroo. But yeah, and then my next pick, Buffalo over Jacksonville. I don't think I need to say that much more on that. I got B-More over the Vikings. Again, I mean, the Vikings lost to Cooper Rush. I think every Vikings fan on Twitter wanted to see Mike Zimmer next in line at the guillotine. So, yeah, I got Baltimore winning that one. And then I got the Rams over Tennessee. Tennessee does not have Derrick Henry. The Rams have Von Miller as well as that defense and that offense. The Rams got that.
All right. Those are all good picks. I decided to be a little bold this week. I played safe last week, and it cost me. Number one, it's a pretty easy one. Dallas over Denver. Dallas is on a roll. You take away the week 1 loss to Tampa Bay, they're undefeated this season. Dallas is winning this game by double digits. Next one, I should have picked this team last week, but I didn't. I'm picking the Patriots over the Panthers. Sam Darnold, I don't know if he's playing in that game. Sam Darnold's looked bad the second half, or outside of the 3-0 start, he just looked bad. And I can't trust Sam Darnold. Plus, I think the Patriots are starting to figure it out. They're going to they might sneak into the playoffs, so I'm picking the Patriots right there. This one, I have Baltimore over Minnesota. You guys, I think, both had that one. I think Lamar Jackson turns it around and has just a breakout game. He's leading the league in combined passing yards and rushing yards this year, so he's just playing out of his mind, and I expect that to continue against the Vikings. This one, I feel like also isn't that bold, but could be. I have the Chargers over the Eagles. I just don't really like what Philly's doing, and I think the Chargers are a really good team, and the Chargers' one weakness, the Eagles won't be able to expose that because the Eagles don't run the ball at all. They pass. other than last week against the Lions, now that I say that. But I do think Herbert's going to have a huge game against the Eagles. And this last pick might be the boldest one of them all. I have the San Francisco 49ers over the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, my.
My reasoning
As a
is...
lock?
As a lock. My reasoning... Let me finish. J.J. Watt's out for the year. Hopkins is hurt. AJ Green's on the COVID list. At some point, they're going to run out of weapons for Kyler Murray to throw to. Plus...
Kyler Murray's been hurt this week, too.
Bingo. Plus, I saw a stat that says Jimmy Garoppolo is 3-1 against the Cardinals. 3-1. He has 11 touchdowns and 1 pick. I think this might be the most bold pick of the week, but I feel like it's going to happen. I think it's a 3-25 game, so it's going to be interesting to watch. But, yeah, that last game, I could have taken an easy route. I almost wanted to just do the Buffalo one because I feel like that would have been easy, but I wanted to be bold. And I'm picking the Niners over the Cardinals.
Well, you sure were bold, huh?
I know I made Braden
right,
happy because Braden's the big
Jesus.
I mean, you.
Lord, I almost chose Arizona as a lock over San Francisco. That is wow. Okay,
I'm choosing the Niners. For
I
some
like the way
reason,
you think, my man.
For some reason, I think the Niners can do it this week. I don't know why. Even the only disadvantage though is that Arizona has 3 more days of rest because they're coming off the long week. So that's the only thing that somewhat worries me. But even then, I still think the Niners are going to win this game. All right.
Hey.
You guys got any final thoughts before you go into the next segment?
I think this is the best chance the Niners will have for the whole season, I think.
Right.
At winning against an opponent they have no business winning against. But I think all the things you pointed out were 100% correct with the Cardinals.
Right. And maybe if J.J. Watt was there, I would swing my vote the other way because Watt is their best run defender on the team. And what does San Francisco do really, really well? They run the ball. No matter the running back, they seem to always get the running back 100 yards and a touchdown every game I watch. So I just couldn't, with all the injuries piling up for Arizona, I just couldn't take them over San Fran. All right, moving on to the NBA. NBA season's happening right now. I think we're in week 3 of the NBA season.
I believe so.
And we've seen some teams shock us, some teams that are disappointing. You guys just want to have one team that's shocking you so far and one team that's been kind of disappointing. I know we did this last week, but things have changed since 7 days ago.
I mean, I don't know. I think the 76ers have honestly kind of surprised me a little bit. Like they're number one in the East right now. They don't have Ben Simmons. Like I would definitely say that they've been a shock for sure. I did not expect them to be number 1 right now.
Right.
But as far as a team that's been disappointing, I mean, I would definitely say the Lakers.
Right.
I feel like I'm kind of starting to sound like a broken record with these NBA takes, but like the Lakers just lost to the Thunder on 2 different occasions and blew 2 20-point leads. Like you don't do that. Like, the Thunder have not won a game that was not to the Lakers. That's just mind-boggling to me. How
Go Thunder.
How do you let this happen? The GM is about to trade everybody on that team for a second-round pick.
Yeah, no kidding. I bet he wishes he has some of like KCP back and Montrez.
Honestly, I think he would. I think he could handle Kuzma right now. I think over Russell Westbrook.
I don't know if I would go that far, but
it'd be close.
Yeah.
It's a lot closer than we could have thought it would be.
Oh, for sure. All right, Brian, you got a team that's like kind of shocked you so far this season, and a team that's kind of like underperformed for you.
Miami Heat. Their record does not display how powerful that they are offensively. Like the Lowry, Butler, Hero, and Bam combo is elite, and I hope to see them continue that throughout the season. As far as disappointing, I mean, Bucks, their record is just humiliating considering, last season and all that happened. I don't know what's going on with the
Bucks have
Bucks.
also have like most of their starters injured, so
That's true, yeah.
Can't really pin that much on the Bucks.
You're right. I haven't watched many of their games. I wasn't that familiar. Like, who all's out right now for the Bucks?
I think Drew Holiday I know is out.
Yeah, I think they just got like Bobby Portis back. I know Drew Holiday's gone. I think Middleton has been somewhat hurt. DiVincenzo's been gone. Like pretty much everybody that's been like an offensive contributor to that team other than Giannis has been hurt for at least some point.
Okay. Fair enough then. I can't really pin that on them that much.
Yeah, I don't want to give them too much flack for that.
Yeah, I'll just fall back onto the classic one and say Lakers.
Yeah. I agree with both of your guys' takes, but my surprising team is a little bit different. It's the Toronto Raptors. They started off the year 1-3. They've won 5 in a row, and they're now 4th in the East. I know it's really early on into the season, but Scotty Barnes has looked really well. Van Fleet's been playing really well. That team, people didn't think they'd win that many games this year. They thought this team was going to be a bottom feeder just because they traded Kyle Lowry, and it was almost like they were getting ready for a rebuild. But now, with Scotty Barnes being really well, I know Siakam's out, so when they get Siakam back, this Raptors team is going to be very dangerous if they continue what they're doing right now. And then for disappointing, I could take the easy one with the Lakers, but I feel like everyone's saying that right now. I'm going to go with the Clippers. The Clippers have not been that impressive to me at all. And I know they don't have Kawhi, but like they should still be winning more games than they have. They only have 3 wins on the season. And I know I'm going to toot my own horn right here, but they lost to the Cavs. You got to be pretty bad to lose to the Cavs. Like, come on now. And they didn't really keep it close with the Cavs. I think the Cavs were up double digits the majority of the game. They're 3-4. Right? Go ahead.
I was just going to say maybe the Cavs are just elite, and we've all been overlooking them.
I said that last week, and I will stick by that, but that is not the team that's shocked me this so far. But yeah, the Clippers just haven't been that impressive. I feel like they are going to turn it around because they have Paul George and they have Reggie Jackson. They have other guys that could step up. But right now, they've just been kind of disappointing to me. I expect them to turn it around, but they just haven't been playing good basketball as of recent. You guys got any other thoughts before we move on to the last segment?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Warriors for a second. That group they have down there is pretty. They're shooting threes like crazy. It's looking like the old Warriors to me so far.
Yeah, and especially when they get Clay back, they're already I think a top 2 defensive team. Them and Miami are some of the best defenses so far this year. It's going to be interesting to see is this Warriors team legit and what they're going to look like with Klay Thompson back. Braden, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, the Warriors have been I wouldn't say surprising because I think everybody kind of knew that Steph Curry is Steph Curry and Steph Curry is going to do what Steph Curry does. But that team has been really good. And I think they have potential to do a lot of great things in the playoffs, especially when they get Clay back. I think I wouldn't be all that surprised if they end up making it as maybe even a 3, 4, 5 seed in the playoffs.
Right. Well, right now they're sitting at the 2 seed, only behind Utah. They're ahead of Dallas, Memphis, Phoenix, LA, Denver, and Sacramento in the playoff picture.
Yeah, don't be entirely shocked if they make the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, the West is going to be tough this year. Even with the teams not playing that well early on, Utah's still a really good team. Like we said, Golden State's a good team. Dallas is playing good basketball. Memphis, Ja Morant might be an early MVP candidate. Phoenix, I expect them to turn around. Who knows? And then the last one's the Lakers. The Lakers will eventually they'll eventually figure it out. They'll start playing good basketball.
They just need to get some team chemistry going.
This reminds me a lot of when the Miami Heat in 2010 decided to join up. It took them 20 to 30 games before they actually got a consistent rhythm and that everyone knew when they were supposed to shoot and all that. So I think they will turn around. But yeah, the West is super deep this year. You guys got any other final thoughts?
No, I think I've said my piece.
Yeah, I'm
All
with
right.
Braden on this one.
We will roll into our last topic, and it is any early award favorites in the NBA. I know we did our award predictions in our first episode, so do you guys have any like early on MVP candidates or any other candidates for any other awards you want to talk about?
I don't know. At this point, I mean, Alex Caruso has been looking pretty good off the bench. Not to toot the Bulls' horn more than I already do, but I mean, not really. I don't really have any predictions as of right now.
I mean, I'd like to mention Jordan Clarkson's name for sixth man.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, 100%. He's going off.
he is. I agree with that. I actually, for my award predictions at the beginning of the season, I took a Jazz player, but it wasn't Jordan Clarkson. I took Ingles, and I'm kind of regretting that pick right now. But if I had to pick like an early on MVP candidate, honestly, it's Ja Morant's playing really well.
He is going off.
I think he's at Ja Morant's playing really well. Braden's gonna be happy about this one.
Zach LaVine.
DeMar
Zach
DeRozan's
been playing good too.
I'd say DeMar DeRozan because he's had back-to-back or 3 straight 30-point games. Like this is like the old DeMar DeRozan that we saw on the Raptors before LeBron ruined that whole franchise.
It's been a minute. I'm glad to see him back.
And then,
so am I.
Yeah. And then for like rookie of the year, I don't know, this might be a little bit of bias, but Evan Mobley's been playing really well. I haven't really seen that much from Cade Cunningham. But right now,
Cunningham's been shooting, I think, 17% from the field so far in his games that he's been playing.
Right.
Oh,
so
if I had to, honestly, if I had to pick a rookie of the year candidate right now that I think could probably win it, I think it's Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes has been playing really well. He's averaged, I think, 18 and 9.
Yeah, I think it's probably either going to be Barnes or Mobley. Yeah.
And then most improved. There's quite a few options, honestly. I mean,
yeah, a lot of people are surprising.
The only thing that's kind of disappointing about this season is, you guys probably know, but the NBA switched the ball that they used. They went from Spalding to Wilson this year. And so there's been a drastic decrease in shooting percentages all across the league. Like, you see some players who were shooting 38% last year shooting 28% this year. So, like, we're not seeing that many people score as many points as we did last year. But it's kind of interesting to see, like, what players are going to go out of that slump and turn around and eventually get back to their old shooting form. Like, we know players like Curry, it's not going to really affect Curry that much, if we're being really honest. And, like, other players, like when Clay gets back, it's not going to affect him. But that's been something to look out for because it's been affecting the majority of NBA players so far. You guys got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm surprised at how much it's affecting people. I mean, they're professional basketball players, so surely they've played with different brands of balls over the years. That's really bad. But like I'm surprised that they're allowing it to affect their shooting that much. Like, it's weird how some players can just look past it and other ones, like, are the balls the same way? I'm not sure what they're like the same.
I think I'm not sure, honestly. I'd have to research more into that, but I just know that they switched from Spalding, which was the official basketball of the NBA since like the 80s, and now they switched it to Wilson. But it's been
the only other time that I can even think of when they like changed the ball that drastically was in 2006, I think it was.
Right. Yep.
And that one was very like widely not liked. So it'd be interesting to see if we're gonna get another situation like that, or if the people are just gonna, the NBA is just gonna say, you know what, suck it up, learn how to shoot.
Right.
So
that's what I would say.
But yeah, guys like Damian Lillard specifically have been hugely affected. I don't know if it's just because of the ball, or if it's the rule changes, or what.
That too. The rule changes this
year.
Yeah, the rule changes this year have affected guys like Trae Young, and probably the one that's affected the most is Harden. Harden hasn't looked well at all this year.
Like, he did have that one game where he, I think, shot like 17 free throws. I'm pretty sure. a week or so back. So.
Really?
He'll do whatever it takes to get to the free throw line. It's his way of getting points. I mean, you can't bash him for it. It worked last year, but he'll have to figure out a new way of getting points at the rule change for sure.
Yeah. And he's averaging on the year. So since the last time we talked about Harden, his averages have increased. He's now averaging, looks like 18 points a game, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, and his shooting percentages were up from the last time we talked about Harden to I think 40% from the field, which is still down for Harden, and then 40% from 3, which I think actually might be his career high percentage-wise, which is kind of crazy to think. But
I have
maybe
a theory as to why that is.
Why is that?
I think it is because he's no longer looking for a foul at the 3-point line every time he shoots the ball.
Right.
It allows him to focus more on shooting and less about falling over once he's released the ball. And I think that's not only good for the game as a whole, but I think it's really good for sharpening his 3-point shot, which we've seen has been pretty dynamic over the years. And I think if he can just keep that up, he could be an elite 3-point shooter this year.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, this rule change just has affected so many people. Like we saw in the preseason, so many players doing what they did last year, like jumping into the defenders to draw fouls. And I think it was the Steph Curry one where he jumped into a Trailblazers defender and didn't get the call and just starts flipping out to the refs. But because the new rule change, they don't call that anymore because that's not a natural foul by the defender. I think that's the terminology. I could be wrong, but
I think it's a natural jump shot animation or something like that.
You're not trying to you can draw contact, but you can't jump into the defender to draw the contact. The defender has to initiate the contact for it to be a foul.
Yeah, I really like the rule change. Actually, a lot of people are against me with that one because they're like, "Oh, it's letting players get less points, whatever." Good players should be able to score regardless of how many times they're fouled, I think.
Right.
And if players are relying on free throws to get points, that just shows they aren't able to score in other facets. So I really like the rule change.
I do too. I mean, it's going to make other players work more for offense, and we might see more better defensive teams because they're holding teams to lower points. So it's going to be interesting to see because playoff time, you always need a good defense in order to be successful. We saw with the Bucks last year and the Lakers the year before, you need a good defense to make a deep push in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see that in the postseason. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap up the episode?
No, other than maybe watch out for the Bulls even more than you already are. They're good.
Naturally, coming from a Bulls fan.
Right.
But, no, you're right. They are playing really well. I think the NBA is not what we were expecting, but entertaining nonetheless. And I look forward to watching the rest of the season play out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. A lot of teams are very competitive this year. We don't really have that many teams that are obviously tanking, so it's going to be interesting to watch. So yeah, that about wraps it up for episode 3 of the CyHawk Sports Podcast. I was joined with Braden Bankin and special guest Brian Hart. I'm Dawson Livingston, signing out.